Aloha, everyone. Welcome back to Multifamily Live. I have the amazing Ben Suttles. Thank you so much for joining us. Ben, oh my goodness, Ben has been an entrepreneur of over 15 years, first starting his career in IT sales and business development, then on to management. His background in management and sales has helped propel him into commercial real estate, first starting in 2013. Over those last 9 years, he's been involved in the acquisition and asset management of 12 large multifamily properties totaling over 200 million in assets under management and the purchase and sale of over 3,000 units. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. No, I'm excited to be on and look forward to adding some value. But you did a great job with that intro. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So Ben, let's talk about it. You started back in 2013.
Yep.
Let's talk about how you got started and why multifamily.
So I'll keep it short, right? But I think the gist of it is like a lot of people, I got into single family first, right? So you kind of get into flipping and rentals, and you get burned out very, very quickly and realize, is this really scalable? Is this something that I want to do with, and at the time, everybody kind of starts with having a career first too, right? So you're kind of moonlighting as a real estate investor. And I think after it was close to 2 years, I kind of started feeling like I'm creating another job for myself. I was already working, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. Now I'm working 4 hours at night, doing this single family rental portfolio and flipping houses, and I was doing a little bit of wholesaling at the time as well, and that was just a big grind. So after a couple of years of that, I kind of started just thinning the herd a little bit and taking a step back, and ultimately found myself finding out about multifamily. So got myself into a group here in Texas, learned all about it. For the folks that are listening that are new, and we don't have a training program. I'm not here to peddle anybody's, but I'm just saying, if you're the type like me who learns better by having a mentor and a trainer, I always encourage this. There's a ton of good people out there. There's a ton of good information, but sometimes it's nice to have a mentor and a trainer, somebody that's done it before you, to kind of tell you where the landmines are. And so,
just a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you because that's an important key. Like when you started flipping in wholesale, at least for us, when we started flipping and wholesaling, we didn't get a mentor. It wasn't, but the thing is, it wasn't until we got that person to be on our team to teach us how to do it that we got to level up. And it also gave us the permission almost to take those next steps into multifamily. How was that mentorship for you, and why was it key?
I think it was key because you can fumble your way through and figure most of this stuff out. But even like when I started out 9, 10 years ago in multifamily, like there wasn't as many podcasts like yourself. There's some books obviously, but not a lot of great ones, and there wasn't as much information online. Right. So you almost had to say, well, how the heck do you even do this stuff? Right. So for me, it was almost like a business in a box is how I would describe my situation with the training program that I was a part of. And, also on top of that, there's some benefit in having a group of people that keep you accountable, right? A group of people that you'll strive to be the alpha in the group. Oh, I see so-and-so. I mean, they're buying deals every month and I want to be like that guy or gal. I mean, there's something that internally for me pushed me even more than if I was on my own, right? Again, I'm not here to pitch anybody's specific group. I'm just saying, if you're like me and that's how you learn and that's how you keep motivated, then it might be something that you want to start off by doing, right? Because it's going to be able to, I guess, accelerate that learning curve quite a bit, right? Whereas, don't get me wrong, these days, yes, you can find out about a lot of this stuff online, but it still might take you a little bit longer than the folks that might join a mentoring group. So that's kind of how I got into it. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I have to say,
go for it.
All of the very successful people in our genre of real estate have had a mentor of some sort or an extended
Absolutely.
membership in some sort of multifamily and business program. So mentorship is definitely key. Now let's keep on with your story. You brought on a
Yep.
mentor, you started learning how to do what you do. How did you figure out, and we had a conversation previous today to this, how did you figure out that asset management and the equity raise, but particularly the asset management, was your sweet spot?
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's the most exciting part of the business, but I'd say it's the most fundamentally important part of the business, right?
Great.
Because at the end of the day, I know a lot of people that are great at acquisitions. Man, those guys and gals, they can buy a lot of deals, they can raise a ton of money. But it's when the rubber meets the road that those projections become reality. Those projections become distributions to your investors, and then eventually there's a full cycle and an exit, and you're able to hit all of those marks, right? Unless you have a good understanding of asset management, which for folks that are new to the business, what I mean by that is it's essentially you're on the side of the ownership, right? Because there's third party asset managers too. So I'm just going to use it, in a broad sense, right? You are there to manage the property management company and the other vendors in the equation and make sure that they are executing on that business plan, right? So if your business plan was to come in there and raise rents $200 and you're going to upgrade 50% of the units and you're going to replace these roofs and all, who's going to do that? Right? Yeah, the property management company can, in some ways, do some of that for you, but they're not going to be able to do it all for you, right? So you have to have an asset manager, or you have to have those skills on your side to be able to go out and say, okay, I'm on track. I've been able to update, 10 units this month, and that's going to annualize into 50% of the units for this year, right? So I'm on track. We're raising rents on all of our upgrades to $200 more, right? Okay, I'm on track for that. What else is part of that business plan? Execution of that is asset management 101. Right. And so it forced me. And again, it wasn't anything that I really think is really sexy or fun, but I just knew that it was so fundamental to the success of what I was trying to do that I took a real deep dive on best practices and building out processes and KPIs within our organization. And even prior to Disrupt Equity is just from 2017, and building out these best practices because I knew that was so important. Right. And I think a lot of people miss that because they get caught up in they went to a 3-day boot camp and they're all excited to buy a deal and they're going to start talking to brokers and they're going to start talking to investors and they're going to get it all done, and they fumble their way through a closing and then they buy the deal, and then they're all high-fiving and yeah, I got my deal and I posted on Facebook, I'm good. Well, that's when all the real work starts is is day one, taking it over and implementing your business plan. Yeah, I'm glad that you got it closed, but you need to know how to manage it at the end of the day. And the asset manager for people's, benefit, right? You're going to do everything, right? From soliciting insurance bids to firing or hiring a management company to protesting taxes to, if you have insurance claims, you're going to have to roll through that whole entire process. Your lender's got questions. They're coming to the asset manager. You better know your answers. Your investors might have questions. Guess what? They're probably going to ask the asset management, department, right? Even if you have a bigger firm. Typically, the investor relations folks are going to be like, hey, how's this thing working? Our investors are asking. So, it's a very fundamental part of what we do. And so I kind of gravitated to that part of the business. And and to this day I still oversee that department within Disrupt Equity. So I guess if you get anything from this podcast is learn how to be an asset manager. Even if you decide in the future that you don't want to do it, at least having an idea of how it works and what things you should be tracking is very, very important.
I'm going to ask you I know why. I want to ask you the question why everyone should learn what an asset manager does.
Because again, it's where the rubber meets the road, right? You've got projections, right? You're going to hit 7% cash on cash, and you're going to exit in 5 years. Who's tracking all of that, right? Because guess what? A savvy investor that's putting their money into it, they're tracking it. You didn't hit that 7%. Where's my money at? Where's my money? So somebody needs to get ahead of them, be proactive, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
That's where asset management comes into play.
I believe the asset manager is one of the most important people on the deal. Like you said, the acquisitions person can take down the deal. They can even, the whole team can raise the equity, but you need that person that can run the deal. That is what you said, rubber hits the road. That is the person that's going to make that business plan work. That is the person that's going to get your investors paid and make sure that they continue to get paid. So talking all about asset management, and I know that that is what you do, but personally, why are you such a great asset manager? What is it about you? What is your superpower? That and as people are listening to this, maybe they'll associate that with themselves. I'm trying to give our audience a little bit more look into who you are as an asset manager and why you are so good at it.
Well, thank you. I've definitely met better ones than me, but I think that there's a couple skills, right? Having now since hired on additional asset managers onto my team that I look for. I would say first and foremost, you got to be a great communicator, right? And I'm going to tell you why. The communication is key. You have to communicate with your property management company and articulate via messages and emails and phone calls as to what the business plan is. You need to shift as needed. So communication is important, but also not only just to the property management company, but other stakeholders, right? Whether it be a general contractor or an investor or another department within your company, you need to be a good communicator and be able to articulate that business plan and shift and understand how to shift appropriately, right? So communication is key, right? I would say also knowing your way around a spreadsheet, right? And how to read financial reports is important, right? Now, do you have to be an accountant? Absolutely not. I'm certainly not a CPA or an accountant, but I understand how financial reports are written and how to understand where there could be variances and why are things the certain way, right? And understanding how balance sheets work and, being able to read those and determine trends and determine anomalies and again, variances and why things are where they are and be able to articulate those questions back to the team, right? Whether it be the property management company or somebody else within the organization. So I'd say communication, being a good communicator, understanding financial reports and spreadsheets. A lot of the stuff that kind of comes out as reports are going to be spreadsheet driven, and you're going to have to crunch numbers and all that stuff. And I'd say the third skill set that's really important as an asset manager is just being organized. Right? Because an asset manager is essentially a project manager on steroids, right? Especially when you compound, you're not just asset managing one deal. Now you're asset managing, I've seen asset managers manage as many as 20 deals, right? So you have to be very methodical, very organized, and understand the metrics that you're tracking. You're going to have a lot of phone calls, you're going to have a lot of emails, and you're going to have to keep up with all that. The way that I'm able to kind of keep up with a lot of this stuff is through Asana. So it's a project and task management tool that some of your listeners might have heard of, right? So everything is a checklist, everything, and it's recurring, right? So, at the 20th of the month, I should have all of my investor updates out, which is coming up in 5 days, and and you have to keep organized that way. And so organization, communication, and understanding your way around financial reports and spreadsheets. If you've got those three skills, that's probably going to be one of the more important things that you need to have as an asset manager. Now, there's probably more. I'm sure other people are going to have different skills, but for me, that's what I look for when I'm hiring on additional asset managers as well.
Organization, communication, and the ability to read spreadsheets. I love that answer.
And financial reports.
Reports, spreadsheets, financial reports. So let's continue on your journey. You get started. You get some multifamily assets under your belt. How does disrupt equity come into play?
So I stepped back from the training program, and that would have been probably 2016. And I was like, okay, I want to still stay in the market. I want to network with people here. We're based out of Houston, here in Houston, that are looking to do deals, that might want to invest in deals, that might want to partner on deals, right? So I created a meetup, which we just had another one last week. So since 2016 to now, about 6 years, we've been running it here in Houston on a monthly basis. We always stopped because of COVID. And, that was my way of just kind of keeping a pulse on the Houston multifamily market. Well, a gentleman started coming in. This would have been back in 2016, actually, and his name's Ferris Musa, and we became friends first. One of the sharpest guys that I've ever met. Very analytical, knows processes and systems better than anybody. He used to work at Microsoft. He's a developer and a systems architect, so he knows how all of this stuff works. He knows about social media and internet marketing and all that stuff. So he had a lot of the skills that I was lacking, right? But first and foremost, we were friends, right? Because I think it's important for people to understand that your partner, much like your spouse, right, you have to get along with. And so don't think of it, oh, we're going to make a pile of money. I don't care if this person's an a-hole or not. That's going to turn into disaster. So do a fair amount of courting, do a fair amount of vetting, make sure that you're going to get along with this person before you get in bed and you do a deal with them. Because I also see this a lot in our industry where people just partner up ad hoc, willy-nilly, and because they're so excited to do a deal. And that's where these fractured partnerships come into play, right? Where the partnership can't even get along, they can't make any decisions, and then the deal starts imploding. So, after about a year of that kind of friendship courting process, we decided to say, hey, why don't we create a business out of this? So in 2017, we created Disrupt Equity, and we've been buying deals ever since, and from there, we've created some ancillary companies as well as our management company, Disrupt Management. And it's been a great ride. But again, very complimentary. Everybody, is just amazed at, just how well we get along. But that was by design too, right? One of the reasons that I really started the meetup group was not really to necessarily to find investors. I was doing a good job of that already. It was more so to find partners. And so that was really my penultimate goal with the meetup, and I feel like I was successful because I was literally networking just to find who I could do deals with. And that's how I found Ferris. So, again, important for people to take their time, get to know those people, because I'm going to tell you the one thing too. The breakup of a partnership is probably as painful as a divorce is. So take that with a grain of salt, right? But it truly is. And I've seen some people get devastated not being serious about it, and things go haywire. And so, if you're looking for partners, do your due diligence, do your vetting, and make sure that you get along with that person.
I completely agree, because not only is that relationship dissolved, but you have so many people that were depending on that relationship. So I love how you jumped into communication and finding that stable relationship, and more importantly, finding that person that kind of fills in those things, those strengths that you might not have or are not as good at. So thank you for everything that you've been laying down for me and my audience. Before I let you go, I would love to know one last bit of, be it information or something you'd love to leave my audience with. What would that one thing be?
And this is good timing, right? I'm not quite sure when this is going to drop, but it's probably going to still be applicable then. I need people to be patient, right? I think people see a fair amount of success online, whether it be real or it's just kind of a little, smoke there. But so I want people to take your time, get yourself educated, network, maybe put some money into a deal with somebody that you trust just to see a little bit more of the inner workings of how it works, right? Before you hop into buying a deal. What we do it can be very, very lucrative, but it's extremely risky too. So I always kind of tell people, don't be so aggressive about getting into your first deal. I know people that'll go to a boot camp and they're trying to get into deals within the first month. And God bless them. I love people that take action. And this is not me telling people not to take action. All I'm telling people is be methodical and be smart about the action that you take, right? Because right now there's a lot of choppiness in the market. Debt's still out there. There's still a lot of liquidity in the market between debt and equity, but it's becoming a little bit more choppy, right? We don't know where inflation is going to go. We don't know if there's going to be a recession and how long or how bad it would be, right? So use this as an opportunity, just like COVID was, right? Where nobody could really get out and do much. Get yourself educated, network, find that partner, underwrite a lot of deals and get really good with your underwriting skills. And then when you start kind of seeing things open up, then you're going to be in a better position to go out and really scale up pretty quickly. Because I think in the next 12 to 24 months, there's going to be a lot of great buying opportunities too. And so don't be so quick to jump in and try to buy a deal just because you're eager to leave your W-2 or somebody told you you could retire in 5 years. It just doesn't necessarily work like that, right? And so, take action, get in the game, but just be smart and diligent about it is kind of my advice to everybody.
I love how you put it, because I'm all about taking action. But you put it like this: be smart about the action that you take. A lot of people push, take the action, take the action. You want to get to the goal, you take the action. I say that a lot. But be smart about the action you take. I think we forget to remind people to do that, especially in this time period that we're in. So Ben, thank you so very much.
Yep.
If my audience wants to get a hold of you, get to know more about you, how can they?
Absolutely. So we obviously got a website, www.disruptequity.com. We got an investor section there. But if you want to drop me a line directly, ben@disruptequity.com. As you can probably tell, I like talking shop and answering questions and talking through multifamily. So if anybody ever wants to reach out to me, feel free to.
Fantastic. So everyone that's listening today, thank you so very much for being here with us. I appreciate you. Ben appreciates you. We appreciate you, Ben. We're all about gratefulness. And the thing is, I am grateful to you. If you loved what you heard, please rate, review, subscribe, hit all those buttons, and check Ben out at disruptequity.com. So grateful. Have an amazing day. And we'll talk later. Aloha.